What is the weirdest way to disappear? Imagine if simply picking a flower caused you to vanish forever. It might not be so bad, but then again, you could end up tortured in the clutches of an evil, deathless monster for the rest of your mortal existence. Is it a risk you'd take? As an obsessive gardener, my fate is sealed, but there's still hope for you from this old, dark story. So, friends and fiends, set aside your gardening shears, summon your familiars, procure a mug of your favorite tea, and follow me. There was once a woman who had 3 daughters whom she loved very much. One day, the eldest was walking in a water meadow and she saw a pink growing in the stream. She stooped to pick the flower, but her hand had scarcely touched it when she vanished altogether. The next morning, the second sister went out into the meadow to see if she could find any traces of the lost girl. And as a branch of lovely roses lay trailing across her path, she bent down to move it away, and in so doing, could not resist plucking one of the roses. In a moment, she too had disappeared. Wondering what could have become of her 2 sisters, the youngest followed in their footsteps, and she fell victim to a branch of delicious white jessamine. I feel like anyone would fall victim to that flower. So the old woman was left without any daughters at all. She wept and wept and wept all day and all night, and went on weeping for so long that her son, who had been a little boy when his sisters disappeared, grew up to be a tall youth. Then one night he asked his mother to tell him what was the matter. When he had heard the whole story, he said, "Give me your blessing, mother, and I will go and search the world till I find them." So he set forth. And after he had traveled several miles without any adventures, he came upon 3 big boys fighting in the road. He stopped and inquired what they were fighting about, and one of them answered, "My lord, our father left to us, when he died, a pair of boots, a key, and a cap. Whoever puts on the boots and wishes himself in any place will find himself there. The key will open every door in the world, and with the cap on your head, no one can see you. Now our eldest brother wants to have all 3 things for himself, and we wish to draw lots for them." "Oh, that's easily settled," said the youth. "I will throw this stone as far as I can, and the one who picks it up first shall have the 3 things." So he took the stone and flung it, and while the 3 brothers were running after it, he hastily drew on the boots and said, "Boots, take me to the place where I shall find my eldest sister." The next moment, the young man was standing on a steep mountain before the gates of a strong castle guarded by bolts and bars and iron chains. The key, which he had not forgotten to put in his pocket, opened the doors one by one, and he walked through a number of halls and corridors till he met a beautiful and richly dressed young lady who stared back in surprise at the sight of him and exclaimed, "Oh, sir, how did you contrive to get in here?" The young man replied that he was her brother, and told her by what means he had been able to pass through the doors. In return, she told him how happy she was, except for one thing, and that was her husband lay under a spell and could never break it till there should be put to death a man who could not die. They talked together for a long time, and then the lady said that she had better leave as she expected her husband back at any moment, and he might not like him to be there. But the young man assured her she need not be afraid, as he had with him a cap which would make him invisible. They were still deep in conversation when the door suddenly opened and a bird flew in, but he saw nothing unusual, for at the first noise the youth had put on his cap. The lady jumped up and brought a large golden basin into which the bird flew, reappearing directly after as a handsome man. Turning to his wife, he cried, "I am sure someone is in the room." She got frightened and declared that she was quite alone, but her husband persisted, and in the end, she had to confess the truth. "But if he really is your brother, why did you hide him?" he asked. "I believe you are telling me a lie, and if he comes back, I shall kill him." At this, the youth took off his cap and came forward. Then the husband saw that he was indeed so like his wife that he doubted her word no longer, and embraced his brother-in-law with delight. Drawing a feather from his bird's skin, he said, "If you are in danger and cry, 'Come help me, king of the birds,' everything will go well with you." The young man thanked him and went away, and after he had left the castle, he told the boots that they must take him to the place where his second sister was living. As before, he found himself at the gates of a huge castle, and within was his second sister, very happy with her husband, who loved her dearly, but longing for a moment when he should be set free from the spell that kept him half his life a fish. When he arrived and had been introduced by his wife to her brother, he welcomed him warmly and gave him a fish scale, saying, "If you are in danger, call to me. Come and help me, king of the fishes, and everything will go well with you." The young man thanked him and took his leave, and when he was outside the gates, he told the boots to take him to the place where his youngest sister lived. The boots carried him to a dark cavern with steps of iron leading up to it. Inside she sat, weeping and sobbing, and as she had done nothing else this whole time she had been there, the poor girl had grown very thin. When she saw a man standing before her, she sprang to her feet and exclaimed, "Oh, whoever you are, save me and take me from this horrible place." Then he told her who he was and how he had seen her sisters, whose happiness was spoiled by the spells under which their husbands lay, and she, in turn, related her story. She had been carried off in the water meadow by a horrible monster who wanted to make her marry him by force, and had kept her a prisoner all these years because she would not submit to his will. Every day he came to beg her consent to his wishes and to remind her that there was no hope of her being set free, as he was the most constant man in the world, and besides, he could never die. Dun dun dun. At these words, the youth remembered his two enchanted brothers-in-law, and he advised his sister to promise to marry the old man, if he would tell her why he could never die. Suddenly, everything began to tremble as if it were shaken by a whirlwind, and the old man entered, and flinging himself at the feet of the girl, he said, "Are you still determined never to marry me? If so, you will have to sit there weeping till the end of the world, for I shall always be faithful to my wish to marry you." "Well, I will marry you," she said, "if you will tell me why it is that you can never die." Then the old man burst into peals of laughter. "You are thinking how you would be able to kill me. Well, to do that, you would have to find an iron casket which lies at the bottom of the sea and has a white dove inside. And then you would have to find an egg which the dove laid and bring it here and dash it against my head." And he laughed again in his certainty that no one had ever got down to the bottom of the sea, and that if they did, they would never find the casket nor be able to open it. Oh, villains and their damning monologues. When he could speak once more, he said, "Now you will be obliged to marry me, as you know my secret." But she begged so hard that the wedding night might be put off for 3 days that he consented, and went away rejoicing in his victory. When he had disappeared, the brother took off the cap which had kept him invisible all this time, and told his sister not to lose heart, as he hoped in 3 days she would be free. For not seeing her brother for so long, she certainly trusted him. Then he drew on his boots and wished himself at the seashore, and there he was directly. Drawing out the fish scale, he cried, "Come and help me, king of the fishes." And his brother-in-law swam up and asked what he could do. The young man related the story, and when he had finished, his listener summoned all the fishes to his presence. The last to arrive was a little sardine, who apologized for being so late. Oh, precious. But she said she hurt herself by knocking her head against an iron casket that lay at the bottom of the sea. No way. The king ordered several of the largest and strongest of subjects to take the little sardine as a guide and bring him the iron casket. They soon returned with the box and placed across their backs and laid it down before him. Then the youth produced the key and said, "Key, open that box." And the key opened it. And though they were all crowding round, ready to catch it, the white dove within flew away. It was useless to go after it, and for a moment the young man's heart sank. The next minute, however, he remembered that he still had his feather and drew it out, crying, "Come to me, King of the Birds." And a rushing noise was heard, and the King of the Birds perched on his shoulder and asked what he could do to help him. His brother-in-law told him the whole story, and when he had finished, the King of the Birds commanded his subjects to hasten to his presence. In an instant, the air was dark with birds of all sizes, and at the very last came the white dove, apologizing for being so late, saying that an old friend had arrived at his nest, and he had been obliged to give him some dinner. The King of the Birds ordered some of them to show the young man the white dove's nest, and when they reached it, there lay the egg which was to break the spell and set them all free. When it was safely in his pocket, I might have chosen a more secure spot. He told the boots to carry him straight to the cavern where his youngest sister sat awaiting him. Now, it was already far into the third day, which the old man had fixed for the wedding, and when the youth reached the cavern with his cap on his head, he found the monster there, urging the girl to keep her word and let the marriage take place at once. At a sign from her brother, she sat down and invited the old monster to lay his head on her lap. He did so with delight, and her brother, standing behind her, passed her the egg unseen. She took it and dashed it straight at the horrible head, and the monster started, and with a groan that people took for the rumblings of an earthquake, he turned over and died. As the breath went out of his body, the husbands of the eldest two daughters resumed their proper shapes, and sending for their mother-in-law, whose sorrow was so unexpectedly turned into joy, they had a great feast, and the youngest sister was rich to the end of her days with the treasures she found in the cave, collected by the monster. But I hope you enjoyed the telling of this Portuguese fairy tale, What Came of Picking Flowers, or What Came of Picking Jessamine. I certainly enjoyed telling it, especially as I'm obsessed with flowers and gardening and would fall prey to pretty much all of these monsters. But I do appreciate that the youngest sister gets all these riches and just can spend her life how she wants, and the other sisters are happy too. Clearly this is not a Grimm's tale, right? And now that we've reached the end of this one, I have exciting news. A Bit Late is now a podcast. You can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts, and of course on Nebula, ad-free, including this brand new story. What if you woke up one day and your face was gone? Even worse, instead of your head, there's a goat's head, horns and all. Everyone else knows, except for you. Some fates can be worse than death, but very much deserved. And this forgotten fairy tale borders on a horror story. And you can dive into it right now on Nebula first, before it's out on YouTube. I release all of my stories early on Nebula first, and you can find all of my past stories, ASMR videos, and growing library of podcast episodes ad-free on Nebula as well. Now, A Bit Late is a small, quiet corner of the internet, and Nebula's support does make a difference in sharing stories with you. And with news and uncertainties and fresh fears streaming in from everywhere all the time, stories and respite are more important than ever. Nebula is a collection of conscientious creators, each with their own niche and speciality. Watching on Nebula directly supports the creator, and watching A Bit Late videos on Nebula helps me to make more videos. To get early access on Nebula first and access all of my videos without ads, please check out my links. go.nebula.tv/abitlate. You can get 40% off Nebula, or $36 per year, $3 a month. And you can go watch this new classic old story right now. And if you're already on Nebula, you can share guest passes with your friends so they can access it too for a full week. Or if you know they'll love Nebula, check out our monthly and yearly gift cards. Nebula has absolutely made a difference in me making these videos. And by signing up using my links, it makes it more possible. Thank you for being here and for checking out Nebula. And before I send you off, what is one flower that would absolutely make you vanish? But for now, off to sleep and dream what you will, or stay a while and enjoy another tale. Whichever you choose, I'll speak to you again, and until then, stay spooky, my friends. Good night.